This will be the third good take. I'm not going to do another one after this point. Conspiracy theory I've invented. Okay, illustrative item. In April or before that, lots of people asked all the medical health professionals from the uh, uh, CDC and Fauci and all sorts of people, AMA, and asked them whether the N95 high-grade masks or these simple ones that aren't so good would prevent them from getting sick. And the sound bites and video bites you see that prove Fauci was wrong, frogs gay, are them saying it won't do you any good, or we need to save those for the medical professionals. But you don't see the first part where they're asked, will this keep me from getting sick if I'm wearing it? That's not a subtle forgetting thing. That's something you can go double check. The majority of the time people said that. That response was that question. And if someone asked, would this prevent me from giving somebody a disease? Do any of you remember anyone asking that in the press? Remember, this isn't you and me asking these questions. This is the press corps. Okay? Or a senator or a governor. Do you really believe the main thing people were talking about was making sure that they would sacrificially wear a mask to keep themselves from infecting other people? That requires a little bit of a leap of logic right there to come up with that kind of question. And someone did. I do remember very distinctly someone having, it's a web page, I'll have to go dig it up, but someone said, asked, well, if it doesn't protect us from getting sick, would it prevent us from spreading it? And the unequivocal answer from random medical doctor was, yeah, of course. Because that's why we wear them in the hospital, the low-grade ones, and even the high-end ones. It's because they, in the hospital, aren't dealing with just somebody at the store, or just their relatives, or dealing just with people at work. They're not doing that. People in a hospital wear that mask and all the other equipment as asepsis. It's not personal protection equipment. People kept using that expression. It's not. It's asepsis equipment. Calling it personal protection equipment is like me calling my body armor. Okay? But if I'm using something to transport someone, like an ambulance, it's not to prevent me from getting sick. I'm driving the ambulance to transfer somebody from one place to another because I'm operating an ambulance. It's a different purpose. It's not being used to save me, and it's not being used to prevent me from getting someone sick. I'm trying to facilitate a process here. This is the opposite. It's to prevent one. If I go into a ward with a bunch of people who have TB, and I'm going to be working in the area where we deal with people with leukemia, in the TB ward, I have to leave the TB ward, go through an air gap. It's called a man trap. Air gap is a good word. And take off all the PPE. It's asepsis. I've removed everything septic about me as much as I can. I clean myself, and then I put on a brand new entire outer coating that's not septic. It's sterile. And that makes me, effectively, when I go touch people who have a bad immune system because they have leukemia, I'm not likely to transfer anything because everything that they can come in contact with, gloves, mask, hair bonnet, everything, has been recently cleaned to the point that it's virtually impossible to transfer a disease. It's not perfect, but it's very good. And it makes it very low likelihood. You could also just say this is for liability insurance purposes, and they don't give a shit if people die or live. Okay. At one time, Donald Trump's administration prioritized the manufacturing and stockpiling and hoarding of, quote-unquote, ventilators and necessary PPE. Masks were specifically stated. And that was a period of time where people got an interesting idea. It didn't last very long. It wasn't up long enough and wasn't really raging, but people said, the reason they're telling you not to wear a mask is because it really will prevent the disease from infecting you. Now, that's not the right ending. It would have prevented the disease from spreading. And people created a conspiracy theory back then, which I'm stealing because I just saw it again. I forgot that the video was up. The reason they don't want you to get a mask isn't because they're hoarding it. And it isn't because we have a shortage. We did. But let's say, and it's not because people are buying them, hoarding them, and selling them. Yes, people have been caught doing that. Just like the toilet paper thing, people went nuts. They put up videos. Most of them are gone. You have to look for them. The reason masks are being downplayed, or the reason you're being not recommended to wear a mask, is because they want you to die. Now, what's funny is that was being bandied about by conservatives and liberals, and it wasn't based on the reason it went away in one group and another wasn't because it was a dumb idea or a good idea. It's because one side was saying it louder, so the other side said the opposite. Well, I mean, everybody's opinion's equal, therefore we should just drop the subject. Now let's review. The accusation is that Fauci and the CDC's head and everybody else lied and said, well, these masks aren't needed. They're virtue signaling now, but they're not needed. Okay, so they said one thing and said the exact opposite now. So the truth has to be in the middle, or they were lying before because they wanted to kill you, or they're lying now because they want to kill you, or they were just dumb at the time and didn't realize, or they're dumb now and they were smart before, or they were asked before, if we wear the masks, if I wear a mask, will it keep me from getting sick? And the answer was, we don't think so. That's really what they said, if you listen to what was asked and answered. And now they're saying that's not the point. If you wear the mask, it prevents you from infecting people. That's not true either. It's the transfer effect. Again, in a hospital, you have to change the stuff out a lot often. You and I aren't visiting on purpose a person with TB, and then the next minute we're visiting somebody who has, leukemia. And if you do have that situation, I think you should change your mask. But the whole point is that it's to prevent transfer. The idea is that if I'm seeing two people with vastly different medical problems that could actually cause the other to be sick, let's say one has one disease, one has another, and they don't want to both have the same disease at the time. For pure liability reasons, I need to make it to where I create an air gap where nothing comes in contact with them unless it's sterile before I touch them and thrown away after it's not sterile anymore. Now, here is a simple test. That kind of mask you can watch on TV and actually really see in videos of people getting surgical procedures. What mask does a doctor wear in an operating room most of the time? Okay. How many of you have worn a dust mask to keep yourself from getting drywall dust into your lungs? Because it can cause silicosis. You can get a really bad medical problem from it. And it may not go away. I'm pretty sure it doesn't go away after a certain point. Those are those damned health laws that are created by them pansies. No, I mean, really, stop that. Okay, why does the doctor wear the mask that way? It's because he can throw away the diseases that might have gotten on him so that he doesn't get sick. No. It's asepsis so that there's no transfer of a disease. Yes. He's trying to prevent himself from getting a broken leg because he's treating your leg. No, he's wearing it to prevent himself from being able to carry a disease from that patient to another and back. Just because you come in with a broken leg doesn't mean you don't have TB. Okay, they don't know what else you might have. This is day one when you learn about sterilizing a room. I had a couple of friends who worked as an anesthesia tech and an operating room sanitation worker, if you want to call them that. What did they do? They worked in the bone surgical room. The surgical theater for doing bone surgery is actually slightly cleaner than for brain surgery. Why? Because getting an infection in a bone can be ridiculously difficult to get rid of and horrifyingly bad. It won't necessarily kill you, but it will fuck you up so bad that the hospital has to pay out millions of dollars for malpractice. So what do? They don't sterilize a room. They destroy it. They remove everything from the room and everything goes through a boiling and cleaning process. It's called an autoclave if it can fit. And if it can't fit, I'm serious, they will dead ass use a flamethrower if they have to. They don't care. But the room has to be sterilized. And one of the ways they do it is they release something in the room that is literally deadly to every form of life known. It is something that is medically regulated as a weapon. If it was used as a weapon in a military, oh my God. And it will kill everything in a room. You can drop a teaspoon of it on the floor and leave it there for 8 hours. It'll kill everything by evaporating and getting on everything. Well, after a certain point, the room is completely sterile. They wipe it down everywhere while wearing respirator and all that kind of crap. It's heavy duty. At least at the time they were doing it. But the point is, they had it drilled into their head that they were allowed to throw a person out of a building unless they were medically compromised to keep them from compromising anybody else because they didn't wear a mask around certain people. And on more than one occasion, they had to play bouncer. You may have noticed doctors get head colds just as often as you and I do. The point is, they don't want to give it to their patient for liability reasons. And also, what do they use? Again, these masks. They're not useful. Again, the original question, don't lie about it. Will this help me not get the disease if I wear it? The answer was no, it doesn't really help that well. That's because of experience doctors have with this. They don't assume that. That's not its purpose. Its purpose is to prevent a doctor who visits one patient from infecting another because they throw away everything that could carry the infection as much as possible. It doesn't completely eliminate it, but it does a very good job. But the other factor about it is the reason for the face mask is it keeps them from getting the patient sick. That's the only other part of it. Now think of it from the perspective of a doctor. Would me wearing a mask prevent me from getting silicosis if you're sanding a wall? The answer to that actually is yes. That's an example of a PPE, personal protection equipment, you're using. That's real. Same thing with the eyeglasses. But it doesn't protect somebody outside. This, however, is specifically to keep a disease from transferring from person to person that you've come in contact with and keep you from infecting them secondarily. That's it. That's the deal breaker with this meme about this being not useful. Then why have doctors been using it for years and years and not made it a political subject? Are you going to go into a surgical theater and say, take off your mask, you stupid libtard? No, you're not going to do that because that's fucking stupid. Ask the politically, ideologically driven Republican medical doctor, why did you wear those when you were doing heart transplants? I forgot his name, he's a black doctor. I literally forgot his damn name. I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. I can't remember his name, but he was going to be a potential Republican president. By the way, wouldn't we be better off with him? I'm serious. But anyway. And by the way, why did the government and all these other subsections of the government go along with the idea that we needed to be told not to wear masks early on? Because some of you have forgotten that. We don't need to. The conceit that is made so far only by Fauci, because everybody else refuses to answer, is because they were trying to prevent all of you toilet paper hoarders who got into fistfights and were caught hoarding tons of it, in some cases in garbage containers, to keep you from doing that to the equipment that the hospitals needed. Again, they kept calling it PPE when it's not. It's asepsis equipment. They were afraid you were going to do a run on that stuff because a lot of you did. And lo and behold, everybody out there that had a dust mask, an ordinary bullshit grade dust mask, not even a good one, for doing sawing wood, would have been better off if they kept their masks and not gone out and tried to get the best one on the market. You don't need the best one on the market because it wouldn't have worked any better. We found that out, and this is the year everybody found that out. Even though it was understood because of other studies, this is the only year that everybody now knows it. A couple of pieces of t-shirt. And yeah, I have a video where I talked about you can just do t-shirts, and I also mentioned one of the terrifying things is, wouldn't it be terrible if this thing transferred through people who didn't know they were sick? Unfortunately, I was dead on about that. At least I got one right. Here's another terrifying one. What if every single coronaviruses can cause head colds, or some of them cause the flu. What if all of them are dormant like that normally and we just don't know about it because we don't have any symptoms from them for years and years? Would you like to make it to where flus and head colds can't come around anymore? To make them eradicated? To get rid of them? By having them have nowhere to hide anymore? By keeping them from infecting people since we're already having to deal with COVID-19? Again, some of you had a conspiracy theory you were being told not to wear masks, and you should. Only because people were telling you didn't need to. Here's the funny thing. What if that's still true? I mean, if you want to believe some group of people in the government or some elitists are trying to kill off the population, control or mass murder, wouldn't it be easier to trick you into not wearing a mask when it's necessary rather than trick you into wearing a mask that has never killed a doctor once? Wearing a mask doesn't kill you, it doesn't make you suffocate, and no, the ADA doesn't cover that either. Just saying. Thanks for watching, have a good day. Good luck with all that. Hope I'm wrong. Pray I'm wrong.